Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and a new Baldurs Gate build video. Today we're covering one of the strongest multi-class concepts, that is the Thief Rogue and Open Fist Monk. This hilarious combo allows for an outrageous amount of attacks per turn, all thanks to the Monk's ability to make the most of bonus actions and all the benefits of extra actions and Tavern Brawler. The Thief subclass of Rogue provides a second bonus action, which is perfectly used on the Monk's Flurry of Blows bonus action attack ability. Consuming one bonus action, you punch not only once but twice and can even topple foes to make them even more vulnerable with that very attack. With extra attack, you have 2 attacks per 1 action, and we can go even further thanks to that Tavern Brawler feat. After making an unarmed attack, you could use an improvised weapon or throw, which would add your strength modifier twice to that damage and the attack rolls. This can allow for some funny fights or repositioning your enemies, so whether you're punching an insane amount of times or throwing something or someone or just smashing them with whatever's to hand, you're always going to be hitting hard and many times all in one turn. Drop a haste buff on your punching monk too and it becomes outrageous. We combine this concept with 2 super strong pieces of equipment you'll want to aim for long term, that being the legendary gloves of soul catching and the boots of uninhibited Kushigo. Definitely mispronouncing that. The gloves increase our damage with bonus force damage and provides heals or advantage, while the boots allow us to scale extra damage based on our wisdom stat, giving us another way to push the DPS. There's other items I'll mention in the gear section, but those are the 2 most important overall. All of it just combines to create an outrageously strong monk build, dealing 200 to 300 damage per turn consistently thanks to the many attacks you get and all of the kind of CC and control ability you have. So with all of that explained, let's now cover how you create this build, starting with the leveling. Alright, so we'll begin with the leveling of this build. The leveling split is ultimately going to be 8 Monk and 4 Rogue, but let's go through the path and why. Of course, we'll be picking Monk to begin with, and we'll be going for our ability points. Since we're going Tavern Brawler, Strength is actually going to be the most important aspect or ability point to have, and we're going to be extra scaling our damage through Wisdom, so we're going to be wanting that. So to begin with, we've got 16 Strength and 16 in Wisdom as the beginning point, with the other levels as a balance to achieve that. As you progress through the game, you're going to find a lot of items that kind of set your constitution to a certain level, set your strength to a certain level, your dex, and so on. And obviously, ultra endgame builds can then respec and manage their levels to maximize with that in mind. But to begin with, we'll go for this. From here, we're going to level up our monk all the way to level 5. On the way there, we'll hit level 3, of course, at which point we can take Weight of the Open Hand, which is providing us with the amazing Flurry of Blows that we talked about, the bonus action, chi point spending, multiple attack option. It can stagger and topple and push, whatever you need. At level 4, we'll get our first feat, where we're going to take strength to 18 using ability improvement. At 5, we get the extra attack we've been waiting for, and of course, we're also going to get stunning strike in unarmed in our case, allowing for potential stuns and CC. So this is a big power spike for sure. Once we've hit level 5 monk though, the next level is finally going to go into our multi-class for rogue to get that going. We're going to level our rogue over and over until we reach level 4, but when we hit level 3, we're going to get our subclass, which obviously will be Thief, for the Fast Hands passive of the extra bonus action. Another major power spike for this build. You'll achieve this at level 8. On the next level though, we'll level our rogue and go for our feat, which will of course be Tavern Brawler, for the perks to improvise weapons and throw, and the strength modifiers to that of course. In this case, I'm going to put 1 point into strength, and then when I use my third feat, I'll take ability improvement. I'm going to fix my dex score as well as finishing strength to 20 at that point. Now we've got rogue to level 4, we can start pumping up the monk all the way to level 8. At monk level 7, we'll get evasion, letting us use our agility to dodge certain spells. But finally, we hit level 12, which is the nice mix of level 8 on the monk and level 4 on the rogue. This will bring us to our final feat, where we're going to get my strength to 20, like I mentioned, and get my dexterity to 14. Again, there's equipment that can change the way that your stats align and where you spend them, but I think for spending them generally, without that stuff in mind, this should be a nice mix. Now it's time to talk about gear. Now, of course, we aren't running any weapons since we are using our fists for unarmed damage, but as I stated in the intro, there's going to be 2 main pieces of gear that you want to aim for long term, one found at the end of Act 2 and one early into Act 3 if you're willing and able to overcome the very tough fight involved. Firstly, it's these boots that I'm definitely going to mispronounce. Uninhibited Kushigo, which is what's providing us the ability to scale damage with our wisdom modifier on those unarmed attacks. As mentioned, this is found at the end of Act 2. Without giving really spoilers, you are going to go into the artifact during an event at the end of Act 2 as you enter Baldurs Gate, the very start of Act 3, and you'll be fighting some monks. The main named Githyanki monk has these boots on her, so after you defeat her, you can loot them and get them. Things are a little bit more complicated with the other main item though, which is the most important for the build, the Gloves of Soul Catching. Your unarmed attacks deal an additional 1 to 10 force damage, amazing, and then you have an option in Soul Catching. Once per turn on an unarmed hit, you can just regain 10 hit points. That's insane. Or you can forgo the healing and get an advantage on attack rolls and saving throws till the end of your next turn. Also really good. Also, it's just plus 2 to your constitution, up to 20 as a cap, which is amazing. So obviously these are the best gloves for a monk build in general, and they're not easy to get. So this is a long-term goal for you to aim for, but not what I'm saying you should get and the build needs before it'll work. It's just your end game goal. Now this isn't a guide video to specifically these legendary gloves, so I'm going to skim over the details here and provide the basic information you need to get these, but there's a lot to it obviously. Basically in Act 3 you will eventually enter the lower city next to the Baldurs Gate waypoint, and if you head northwest to the other end of the lower city, you'll find this big building, Devil's Fee. Upon entry you will meet a merchant and she'll offer you like a basic amount of things. If you walk around the shop identifying the arcana of 2 items that she's selling, revealing how actually valuable and dangerous these things are, you can go speak to her and demand to see the full stock. After that, you can say, hey, I'm not interested in buying things. I want to go to hell and get other things from hell. Specifically, you want to go to the House of Hope. Convince her to do this in various ways, and you'll go upstairs with the equipment she provides and complete the ritual, which allows you to enter the House of Hope. To get the gloves, you need to save Hope, which is in fact a character locked up in a prison down below. To keep this very basic then, you'll want to head to the east side of the House of Hope, going into the basement and freeing Hope. To do this, you will need the Orphic Hammer, which you can get if you speak to Raphael before entering Baldur's Gate itself in the lower city and sign his contract in exchange for the hammer. Using this hammer, you can break the crystals that bind Hope. And while you're here, you can also go to the other end of this place on the west side and break your contract so you're not screwed or, stuck with that ending. At which point you can then return to the exit where you came in and be interrupted by Raphael as you leave. At which point you're going to be dealing with an incredibly difficult fight, but if you overcome it by ideally sparing her sister during the combat by going to passives tab and using non-lethal blows when dealing with her specifically, you will have freed Hope, and in exchange she will give you the gloves, and that's how you get them. Again, there's more to it, but you can follow a full guide for that, but I don't want to bloat this video too much. Now there are of course other pieces of gear that will help the build that you might want to consider. For example, there's the Amulet of Branding, which allows you to use Brand the Weak. Exposing the weak points of an enemy, they become vulnerable to either bludgeoning, slashing, or piercing damage, whatever you choose, per 1 long rest. It only lasts for 3 turns and is consumed when you use the attack, but it basically will double the attack of one of your attacks, which is still very good. Another incredible item is the chest piece that I'm wearing, the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. Whenever the wearer succeeds on a saving throw against a spell, you get hit points back, and the counter passive allows you to make a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attacker that misses you, as well as the +2 to AC. It's a very good chest piece for this build. You can find it here in Act 3 at the building I'm standing at, Sorcerer Sundries, which is just southwest of the Baldurs Gate. By going in and speaking with the vendor, the projection here, you can straight up buy it for about 3,000 gold. It's expensive, but it's obviously very good. I could go further on the gear suggestions, but I think I've given you lots of options to think about. Ultimately, during your playthrough, you'll run whatever is best for your monk and the playstyle, aiming for the boots, the gloves, and the chest piece in specific long term. When it comes to a gameplay guide for this build, it's pretty simple, since compared to most builds you'll only use a few attacks and abilities in a normal fight, just in the order to control and maximize your damage. Your goal is just to make the most out of the many attacks you can do though. On action attacks, you'll either be stunning, punching for max damage, or Tavern Brawler feat to throw or even improvise a weapon to squeeze out even more damage. Or like I mentioned, maybe throw an enemy to position them, dealing lots of damage because you threw them off a ledge, or throwing them into a really bad spot based on the terrain or where your allies are or whatever. This perk actually activates after you do a basic attack though, and you'll see how it highlights the common actions ready to be beneficial and ready to go. On the other hand, we'll also benefit from our bonus actions to topple enemies most of the time. This leads to advantage on your attacks for the one turn they're actually prone. Alternatively, you could use your action to Stunning Strike, which will of course hard CC an enemy, making them miss a turn if it goes off. So yeah, up to you on how you're going to manage the fight while dealing the amazing amount of blows per turn that you have. You can benefit more from buffs like having an ally provide haste for even more punches per turn, turn. Or maybe you'll make use of your equipment spells and perks that you have there, like enhancing your damage by branding an enemy or otherwise. So yeah, it really is that simple and truly is this strong at baseline. But that brings us to our conclusion. This Gatling Fist Monk is obviously strong and is easily one of the strongest multi-class concepts I've seen, let alone tried myself. I can't recommend this enough if you even like the idea of a monk. This could be their best build overall. It does obviously benefit a lot from the really powerful gear you start getting mostly in Act 3, but like I've been saying, there's nothing stopping it from being awesome well before then. It just kind of reaches a silly status once you start to get some of those more potent items, of course. For now though, I hope you've enjoyed the build. I've been Hollow. You've been you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.